אני ככה עוברת ביעף, כשאנחנו מדברים על, כפי שהזכיר ג'ואל מקובר, על walking the walk, אנחנו עוברים למודל נוסף ושונה של ניהול קיימות בין הזירה העולמית למקומית. את המודל הזה יציגו לנו סנדרין מישארד, מנהלת תקשורת, אחריות תאגידית וקשרי ציבור של קבוצת לוריאל מזרח אירופה, שישראל נמנית עליה, אבל סנדרין היא בליון בצרפת, משם היא מתחברת אלינו, ויחד איתה חברתנו דניאלה פרוסקי-סיון, מנהלת התקשורת והקיימות של לוריאל ישראל. Dear Sandrine, we are delighted to host you here today, together with Daniela, with a dear friend and colleague, admired guest lecturer at our MBA courses for corporate responsibility here at Tel Aviv University. So I welcome you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Talia, very much. Hi, everyone. Sandrine, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And really, I'm thrilled to be part of this great forum of experts of sustainability and very happy to share with you a bit the journey we had at L'Oréal and how and why, as a global company, we think we should pay attention to the climate crisis. Alors maybe L'Oréal in a few words, because I'm not sure that everybody is familiar. We are a company that is the leading company in cosmetics in the world with 36 brands, 29.9 billion euros of turnover, 88,000 people around the world, present in 150 countries. So it's a big company that for more than 100 centuries is solely dedicated to beauty and to create beauty products. So, and over the past 2 decades, the role of companies like ours have changed dramatically because the expectations of our stakeholders, the acceleration of environmental and societal challenges have led many of us to engage in sustainable development policies to better take into account the impacts of our activity. But as Joel told at the beginning, this is not just a question of building trust, building respect, a good reputation among our business partners. This is not just a question of responsibility as a company, even if it's very important. If we pay attention to this topic at the highest level at L'Oréal, this is because addressing the climate crisis is a necessary condition for our business continuity. There is a clear understanding from all our business units that this crisis would not only disrupt human activity and life on Earth if we do nothing, it would very quickly, and before that, disrupt our daily business if we don't act quickly. So this is in this spirit that we raise awareness of that internally to engage the whole company in this journey. This is a type, you see the type of information that we are sharing with each and every employee at L'Oréal, starting by top management, so they could realize why they should take part urgently in this business transformation. So these are the few impacts that the climate crisis could have on our daily activities. Supply chain could be impacted by climate disorders, for example. Our license to operate, we said it, with increased regulations is impacting the business. Our acceptability also by our consumers could be challenged, especially when we have a dependency on water. We have a product that we rinse, so we are dependent on water, and water is inside our products. And we have also a dependency on the natural resources. So all this has, of course, makes us reflect on what we could do better. And the journey started a while ago because we had commitments over the last decades addressing our company's direct impacts. So mainly scope 1. So we started, and Daniela, you can switch to the next slide. We started with incremental improvement, like in our production facilities, where we reduced drastically carbon emissions. We achieved the carbon neutrality in 50 of our facilities already. We also worked on water consumption per finished product at plant and distribution centers that were divided by 2 over the last decade. And we also worked on the product themselves. We have improved the environmental and social profile of 95.6% of new and renovated products. We did that thanks to a tool that we called Spot, in order to eco-design our product from the beginning. And this tool is unique in the industry. It's to act on sustainable innovation, assessing the whole footprint of our products, both from a social and environmental point of view. And thanks to this Spot, we have completely transformed the way we were conceiving and designing our product. So this is a journey we started a while ago with a program, but our company had this feeling of urgency, and it was not enough. And we had to act more strongly, even if the pandemic was there, even because of the presence of this pandemic. We thought we could not wait anymore and go more quickly. So in June 2020, in the middle of the pandemic crisis, L'Oréal decided to commit to an even more radical transformation, with much deeper and more challenging commitments for the decade in front of us. So we took care not to shift our focus from the ecological transition, which is crucial for the world of tomorrow and for our activity. And the Paris Agreement and the science-based target where we committed to has provided a strong frame to build our approach. So now I will go through very quickly about this approach. It means for our business something that is very, as Joel mentioned, very anchored into our strategy. And L'Oréal has decided to take its commitment further through a program called L'Oréal for the Future. So it embodies our view as what the company's vision, purpose, responsibility should be to meet the challenges facing the world. So firstly, we are transforming ourselves, respecting the planet boundaries. When it comes to a company activity, it's no longer enough to reduce its environmental impact with objectives that are self-set. So scientists, and you know that perfectly, unanimously agree that crossing the so-called planet boundaries will destroy humanity's safe operating space. And hence, our commitment is to operate within the limits of the planet, adapting to what the planet can withstand, as defined by environmental science. So we are implementing a new internal transformation program with quantifiable measures to limit the impact of all our activities on 4 areas that we identified as the most impacted: biodiversity, water, climate, and resources. Areas where we have an impact and where also not acting would be irresponsible as a company. So I will go through them. You will see in these new commitments, we are taking into account on top of scope 1 and 2, the scope 3, upstream and downstream. And this is for us a very big shift and a challenge in our journey, as we will act not only on what we are fully controlling. We also take commitments to act on an induced change amongst our ecosystem of suppliers, customers, and last but not least, consumers. You will see that by giving them the means to make more informed consumption choices. So I will go through these goals. It looks like if we look at the goals we have put together and we have committed to on the 4 areas we identified, I'm starting with climate. You see that we have 4 main commitments covering the whole value chain. And that are quite bold because it's not something that we know we will make easily. It's quite ambitious. We took the same logic for water, as I told you, is a big part of our business, and building commitment related to water footprint in quantity and quality. That's the second area. The third one is, as I said, biodiversity, because we give in this program L'Oréal for the Future a big part and big focus on biodiversity. It's a very important focus in order to preserve and even restore biodiversity. I will come to that a bit later. So you see here the commitment to limit our impact. And for resources, which is the fourth area, last but not least, and all what is related to circular economy, we also took very bold commitments as resource depletion and plastic pollution are identified as a major issue for us and for humanity globally. So we are going beyond what we directly control, and we are empowering our business ecosystem, helping them to transition to a more sustainable world. We believe it's our responsibility to include our customers, suppliers, and consumers in our transformation process. And we believe also, for example, that it's important to allow our consumers to make purchasing choices that are in line with their values. And that probably could also a bit impact the way they consume. And this is why we are launching in an innovative environmental and social display mechanism, starting with our brand Garnier. That will be our first brand to use it. It's already working in France now and spreading all around the world. This will allow our consumers to assess the impact of the product they buy and to make informed, sustainable purchasing decision. The platform of information is built on a methodology taking into account all the impacts we may have all along the life cycle of the product. And this approach and all the data had been audited and certified by Veritas, an independent entity. So these ratings will enable the consumer to compare products of the same category. We are starting with Garnier and shampoos first, because it's what uses the less more water, what is the most consumed among our product, and then extend the other brand to the other brands and other types of products like skincare, makeup, etc. So any consumer on all our markets would access easily this type of information, and we hope it could help them improve their consumption behaviors and their beauty routines for the better. So this is finally, I will go through the other part of this strategy, the third one, that is how we are contributing to solve the challenges of the world by supporting urgent social or environmental needs, because that's what we are looking at now. And as I said, one important area we addressed is biodiversity. We had a flavor with COVID of the terrible consequences of human health and the destruction of and disbalance of ecosystem. So on top of commitments you've seen to limit our impact on biodiversity, we believe that it's urgent to address a nature regeneration. So we are therefore pledging a 100 million euro to environmental impact investing. 50 of them, 50 million, will be allocated to the regeneration of damaged natural ecosystem, in particular marine and forest ecosystem. Next slide, maybe Daniela. Through this fund called the L'Oréal Fund for Nature Regeneration, L'Oréal aims to restore 1 million hectares of degraded ecosystems, capture 50 to 20 million tons of CO2, and create hundreds of jobs opportunity by 2030. And we have another 50 million on top of this 100 for biodiversity that goes directly at financing projects linked to the circular economy, supporting the development of solutions and new business models, startups, etc., particularly in terms of recycling and managing plastic waste. So just to conclude, climate crisis is a core concern for us, no doubt. But we have also a strong social and economic responsibility as a corporation, especially towards women, the most affected by climate crisis and the COVID pandemic. At L'Oréal, we have long been committed to supporting women, women's rights, and the consequence of this crisis affecting disproportionately women, particularly at risk of losing job or income or being subject to domestic and sexual violence, have led us to make an additional commitment to support them. So we are creating a 50 million charitable endowment fund to support the work of field organizations and local charities supporting women. Our brand also did their part with a brand cause launched in 2020 to support women and girls in difficult situations. You see a few of them for YSL and Maybelline. And I hope with this, let's say, global picture, you have a better view of the way we accelerated on our journey on sustainability towards climate change, whatever the COVID context had brought and revealed or impacted. So now I'm happy to hand over to Daniela, who will explain to you how this global approach had been translated into a strong local roadmap for L'Oréal Israel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandrine. Can you hear me, Talia?
Yes, of course we can hear you, but just before Sandrine leaves us or go to the background, there is one question asking how about using more natural detergents? I'm not sure it relates to, but can you answer that?
All the sourcing of the ingredient we have are, of course, regularly monitored and re-questioned. You have to know that 60%, I'm not sure that you have seen the figure, but 60% today of our, let's say, ingredients are from natural origin. And the whole question is how to mix and how to take care of the impact we have on biodiversity. And for sure, all what remains non-natural, we have a few minerals as well that we are working on right now to see how we can improve that sourcing. And for all the rest that is still from fossil, I would say that is 15% that is from fossil origin. This is something that will also re-question how we can change that, not impacting biodiversity. So this all reflection that we have under a program called Green Science is something that we totally re-question. I don't know if it was the purpose of this question, and detergent or let's say what is enabling us to rinse or to wash is part of the reflection for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandrine. So in a few minutes, I will just connect to the messages of Sandrine and just tell you a little bit about how we accelerated our journey here in L'Oréal Israel. So maybe a couple of facts about L'Oréal here in Israel. It's a company based in Netanya with a factory in Migdal HaEmek and a logistics site in Caesarea. We have about 1,100 employees, direct and indirect, and we have around 20 brands in Israel. Of those 36 that Sandrine mentioned, we're the #1 beauty company in Israel as in the rest of the world. And really it's been a journey, but it hasn't started now. We've been working at it since 2013, since the previous program was launched, L'Oréal for Sharing Beauty with All, and we had many nice achievements, both environmentally in terms of CO2 and energy and renewable energy and reducing distractions and moving to hybrid cars and going to green offices, etc. Really good achievements, compared to the journey that we did. And also socially, we had very nice achievements over these years, creating a social agenda, engaging suppliers to adopt more sustainable measures, and engaging in solidarity sourcing, so purchasing from socially disadvantaged suppliers, and establishing beauty centers for women in sickness or disability, etc., etc. So all this was very nice, but it wasn't enough. And we also felt that we needed to go to the next level. And then came this new era of L'Oréal for the Future that Sandrine described to you, with these 3 pillars that are very, very ambitious. And we had to start kind of thinking, how are we going to take this leap forward in Israel, and how are we going to adapt this such ambitious global program to Israel with its very unique characteristics, both environmentally and socially. So in order to accelerate, we needed structure, and this is something that L'Oréal is very good at giving the countries. We had been giving directions on what are the targets that we must lead and directly act on, and they were non-negotiable. So those were targets that we had to take a lead on, and then there were targets that we could support or be kind of more supportive on, and then there were targets that we were not expected to act on immediately, because they were more, let's say, headquarter related, but we were really asked to take all these types of targets. And also, of course, we needed a local strategy. We needed to decide where we want to play and how we want to win. And we had to build our local roadmap and set all the structure, the framework, the governance, the responsibility. So this was a phase, a process that took us over, I think 8 months. We needed to upskill our people. When you do when you implement a new strategy in such an ambitious program, you have to upskill the people. You have to engage ambassador and upskill your management committee, and you have to really engage the entire company with many lectures and seminars and webinars. And this is in itself a process that will continue throughout 2021. And we needed targets, of course. And I won't go into each and every target, but we took the global roadmap that was created at the headquarters in Paris, and we translated it, we migrated it to Israel according to the local needs and characteristics in cooperation with NGOs and local experts. And then we came up with this local roadmap. I'm not showing the entire roadmap here with the metrics and the projects for each year for the next 3 years, but we have targets both for the factory and the logistics and the transport and the suppliers and the consumers. And we also have more targets, empowering consumers and communities, softer targets, more social targets, empowering our teams and empowering vulnerable women. So this was our way to kind of say, okay, this is a strategic mission. This is a strategic issue. It's embedded directly into the strategy and into the day-to-day work of each and every person in the company. And everybody is measured at the end of each semester, at the end of each 6 months. Everybody is measured upon it and also compensated upon it. Of course, after setting the targets, we had to accelerate the engagement with external stakeholders and also let them know that they are part of this journey with us, the public authorities and our suppliers and retailers. It's a mission to tell them, okay, what was done, and from today on, we're starting to take a new journey, and we expect you to be with us. If you want to be a supplier with L'Oréal Group, this is the standards that we expect you to live by. So this is an ongoing process, of course, but I must admit that most of them are very much appreciative, and it also gives them the opportunity to enter this field more, let's say, more strategically. And also another mission is to share it with the media. So here are some pictures from the summer where we shared it with leading media and to share the journey with them. And of course, expose ourselves a bit, starting to rank ourselves and starting to participate in types of rankings that we need to also show more publicly what we do, something that we maybe didn't do so much in the past, but this is also part of the transparency process. So yes, this is a process, and I think maybe the grand prize, the real grand prize, is what I put here. It's from the latest employee polls. It's the Seker Irguni. And this is what our employees said. This is a survey that they fill up every year, once a year. And one of the questions in the survey, it's a global survey, so also Israel participates in. One of the questions is, I feel L'Oréal in my country is actively engaged for a more sustainable world. this year, 2020, 94% said answered positively to this question. This is 8 percentage points more than last year, which is a huge, this was one of the biggest increases of the employee survey. So for us, this is the real grand prize, that our employees know that they work in a sustainable company, or in a company that acts to be more sustainable in its actions. So this is really, I think, the biggest thing. And just to finish, a new journey has just begun. But as Sandrine mentioned, we have a vision, we have a way, and despite the challenging times, we're convinced it's the right time to act. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you very much.
תודה רבה, דניאלה. It was fantastic, and thank you so much for standing for the time limit. I know you had to work on it, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sandrine. We had one question, of course, that I directed to Sandrine, and if there are any further ones, I'll pass them on to you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.